brought to you by Bathroom Bazaar, pulling the plug on high prices. In the heart of the northwest province lies Lichtenburg, gateway to the holiday playgrounds of thousands of South Africans, and a town which is surrounded by farms, big game resorts and safari lodges. But before we get to the finish line at the Lichtenburg Raceway, there was a lot of racing to be done in and around this laid-back town. There was a buzz for the registration and the start of the 2007 Rustenburg Regional 200-kilometer event, a tough race with no less than 7 categories, stretching from quad bikes, motorbikes through to special vehicles and production cars. The proud sponsors Lichtenburg and Rustenburg Toyota, Rustenburg Wimpy and the Van Vieren Group were ready to present a race that would thrill and delight the participants while enchanting spectators with all its thrills and spills.
Ons het maar verlede jaar ons voertuig heeltemal weer uitmekaar uitgehaal en weer aan mekaar gesit. We gaan gekyk na ons skokbrekers, dit geherstel. Daar was nie baie probleme nie. Ons het ons raamwerk en goed is nog alles reg. Ons het geen herstelwerk daar nodig gehad nie. Die voertuig lyk redelik goed vandag.
And at the start of a racing calendar jam-packed with events that would challenge man and machine, that kind of care was very necessary.
Ja, ek nog seker die afgelope maand heavy baie gegym want ek het gehoor die kompetisie die jaar baie straf. Ja, so ek het gegym en fiksheid altyd en op my bike soveel tyd moontlik spandeer.
In this game, fitness certainly produces the desired results, particularly for those who get a clean start and are away, where the recent drought, dust, has been a big problem.
I'm pulling off first, and it's cool because there's the second runners and the guys behind me are going to have quite a bit of dust, so it'll work in my favour.
Right. And your confidence of winning today? Do you reckon you're going to take it?
We'll see what happens.
In the Yamaha camp, they were hoping for a good placing.
Oh, well, I hope so, because that guy is very fast and Ron Roberts as well is very fast. So we will see. Miami is looking good today, so I'm feeling fine today. Maybe I can claim the first place today.
In the special vehicles or space frame class, they were the usual suspects, and the entry that had most people talking. The big motorite bat of Eben Hutchison and the sleek silver and black colours of Motorite, the 2005 SA champion. But he would have to contend with the Naeem Mosaji Rayhan Borhanya combination, as well as Gary Bertolt and his navigator Henry Costain, who were out there to give their Atlas Copco Porter a run. The big back was off first, a dust-free start, if you stay ahead, that is. The total porter of Shamir Variawa stepped up to the line next, while former national champion Richard Schilling and Chris Davies led away the S-Class competitors. Hutchison and his co-driver Akim Bergman were into their stride quickly. Unfortunately, they soon had a large mechanical. While Bertolt was making the porter sing along quite nicely, thank you very much. Shamir Variawa has long been touted as a bright talent, but last year he had an unsettling year and needed to start with 07 on a good note. And Schilling in the Plastotech race car just does his thing, like he has for the past 25-odd years. Mosaji and Bodiana were preparing for the start of the ABSA Off-Road Series in Darling in the Western Cape and were sorting out a few small things, with Variawa chasing hard. Gil Nel, with his new navigator Sandra Labeskaghni riding shotgun, was out taking his Bosel truggy for a spin over 200 k's. With the Nashua Mobile crew Mike Whitehouse and his nav Graham Thornton taking their charge for a run in preparation for a long season. Mike Kennelly and Colin Haywell were going well early on and were up into the top 5 in Class A in the Magwheel Surgeon Racing entry. While the big bangers in the production car class were also letting it all hang out. Herman de Villiers and Willy Prinsloo from the Koppel Club charging along. Bloemfontein-based Rowacon crew Peter Ruthven and Deval Boshoff had the bit between their teeth and were up into the top 10. While while their stablemates, brothers David and Gary White, were enjoying their first long outing together. Laverskachny had his nav Rickus Erasmus in the Toyota. And this is what flying aficionados call having a near miss. Or something like that. Henry and Marisa Matten demonstrating how to go the wrong and the right way, all in one easy move. And I think that's called a little argument. Henk Bester and Ernie Grissel from Vryburg had their Toyota going nicely and were setting the pace in Class E. With Henny Lemmer and Jean-Ray Coetzee keeping the pressure right on them. The Prinsloo Recovery Toyota of Hatzog Prinsloo and Arthur Bester from the Fairwest Club were up into the top 4, where they would stay throughout. And in Class D, it was Hendrik van der Linde who, with his co-driver Andries Meinhardt, led the category. The prologue entry with Derek de Wit at the wheel and Pieter de Wet in the co-pilot seat were fourth in Class B. While this rather funny-looking contraption belonged to Tippie and Theo Janssen van Rensburg, also from Vryburg. Henco Motor Engineering's Dewald Hutting and Duke de Preer from the Barberspan Club led in Class F by quite a long way. And Herbie would have been proud. That's of S21, Mick Westhuizen and Keith Solomon. The fire engine red special of Leon and Kevin Barker was in the colours of Leon Service Centre and were third in Class S. While Renko van Niekerk and Jacobus Jacobs had just chased into second spot in the same class. But with 200 long kilometres ahead of them, the bikes had lined up in Lichtenburg too, and with these guys, it's hell for leather from the word go, and that is pun intended. Clerk of the course, Piet Swanepoel, himself a former national off-road chap, sets the races off. And it wasn't long before the pecking order was established. Owen Warren in the open category was straight into contention. With Johan Visser chasing hard through and in the dust. In the 125cc class, Arrow Racing's Dylan Ings was throwing down the gauntlet to the 14 other racers in the category. While Dennis Williams in the open cat followed closely. He was second in his class, and 125 leader Jurgens Potgieter on a Linex Yamaha leading his. The dust and heat was certainly a factor as Tyrone Morris in the colours of Roberts Racing made his appearance in the Senior B race. Eugene Coetzee was leading the open section. With Stephen Williams from the Roost next, third in the 250s. Tim Dawson in the 200cc's was flying, but then so were a whole host of competitors who had their eye on a podium finish. The hardy spectators, those who didn't mind the odd bit of dust going into strange places, were enjoying themselves immensely. The quad bikes was a feast of really tight racing as Corey Swart steamed by in the Pro 450 class. Closely followed by Kitty Oberholzer in the open class. With Aldo Santos from Daytona also in the Pro 450 class keeping up the pace. But the man they were all chasing in the open category was Willy van der Merwe, who'd eked out a solid lead in his class over Oberholzer. But 200 Ks are a long way to go and anything can happen on the way to the Lichtenburg Raceway and the finish line. At the designated service point, there was the usual chaos as the racers came in to have the small things that have been going wrong fixed or to have damage repaired to vehicles that strayed off the beaten path. Roby sibling pairing Henry and Marisa Matten were second in Class D and were obviously comfortable there. While Musaji's team were frantically squirreling away, something that eluded them needed to be sorted out. But eventually, it was bombs away again. Gary Gillingham and Peter van Vuren don't just share a blood group, they also share the space in their bat and were 7th in Class A. Pikkie Lawaskagni and Rikus Erasmus were a solid 5th in Class D. But there was no doubt the rough and tumble of the dust and the heat and the twisting route was exacting a toll from drivers, cars and navigators.
The route marked well enough for you?
Yeah, it marked very well, but it's very, very rough. Yeah. Very, very rough, yeah. Unbelievable.
Okay.
And the same went for the motorbike racers who had to concentrate even harder. .200cc leader Bradley Engelbrecht's right leg worked overtime to get his charge going again. With the KTM crew going about their business very quietly. The 250 Yamaha rider Steph Venter was away efficiently. But Paul Wilson's open category bike sounded just a little rough already. Some guys still had time to horse around, while others had no time. In the quad bike section, ATV Power Sports Jean Brett set the pace overall and in the Pro 450 class. And they say there's no glamour in the sport. While his teammate Gerrie Prinsloo wasn't too far behind. Brett saddled up and took it out hard yet again. The Rustenburg 200 brought to you by Lichtenburg and Rustenburg Toyota Wimpy and the Van Vuren Group continues after this. The dust and heat of the Northwest Province was getting in just about everywhere as the yellow Atlas Copcar of Gary Berthold and Henry Costain swept to the front and stayed there in the special vehicle class. This is one big engine, and it always wants a bit more punishment. TTR Racing's Mosaji and Barhanya were second and were about 6 minutes in arrears. And the National Mobile duo of Mike Whitehouse and Graham Thornton were in third place, but more than 15 minutes back. With Mike Kennelly and Colin Haywell, who were fourth and giving a good account of themselves. Ruacon's White brothers were enjoying their outing together as David had been racing a single-seater. For him, it was good to have company. Stoppie Mayart was holding on for dear life in the Saratoga game capture Landy as his driver Hendrik van der Linde gave it stick. They were leading in Class D. Let's go in car now with the Zermattens, and the rough and tough nature of this route is well demonstrated here, but there certainly weren't too many overtaking opportunities. That's the Screamer working overtime. And that the rain certainly took its toll on the cars.
George, problems earlier?
Hey, yeah. It seems like we've got a bent prop shaft, we've got a fuel leak, had a puncture. Seems like these regional races are not for sissies, eh? But we're going to try again, keep on going.
And George, we presume that everything else on the car is 100%, hey? At least his better half, Sharon, was still smiling. CH Holdings Toyota swept by with Class E leaders Henk Bester and Ernie Crissel keeping up the speed. Malcolm Koch and Wayne Brink were up into the top 3 in class and going along smoothly. With Ramon Besaidnout and Keith van Tonde from Nigel in 4th in their Toyota. Dust combined with the heat was starting to grind bearings down and wear down CV joints, but no one told Henny Strumpfer and his co-pilot Bill Becker this. They just kept trucking in Class E where they were second. The competition was tough and uncompromising throughout. No quarter asked or given, regional or not. Lemmer and Kutsia were third in Class E and holding their own very nicely. And it was ditto in Class S for Kevin and Leon Barker, who were in the lead by a whopping 24-minute margin. With Supreme Auto's Tippie and Theo Janssen van Rensburg chasing their dust in Class B. Labuskaghni and Erasmus were still firmly ensconced in 5th place in Class D in their Toyota. While Henko's Dewald Hunting and Duke de Pree still dominated Group F by more than an hour. One of the spectators' favourites was Mick Oosthuizen and Keith Solomon in their Beetle, who was second in Class S. With Johan Boxhoorn and a single-seater showing off the rest of the crews in Class B, he was third in this category with a great drive. Vernon Fenter and Albert Pretorius from Lichtenburg were clearly having fun as they were at the head of affairs in Class C. In Class E, it was Philip Smith and Kobus Bomo who slotted into 5th in their Mahindra. Airtech's Aaron's Hunting was having a storming drive in Class B and was up into the 5th place. While the Andre Brits-Gerrit Rousseau combination had sneaked into 8th place in Class A and stayed there in the second half of the race. Some of the faster specials streaked past some of the production cars on the straights. This time it was Wynand van der Linde who had to let the faster traffic just go by. Onto 2 wheels, and in the open category Eugene Kutsia got his nose in front and kept it there. With Dennis Williams about 90 seconds behind, but not able to pick it up any harder than he was going. And the man in 3rd, Owen Warren, was right on his exhaust pipe. In the 125 category, Linux Yamaha's Jurgen Sportgieter was ahead by 80-odd seconds. With the second placer in the senior race, Tyrone Morris, keeping him right on his toes. Dylan Ings had slotted into 3rd in the 125s. While Stephen Williams was getting everything out of his 2-wheeler, and then a bit more. Ruan Roberts, another from the Arrow Racing squad, was second in the 125 class, with Michael de Beer in 4th. Graham Wild was doing his surname proud in 3rd in the 200cc's, with Kenny Jellyman from the Roost in 7th in the open class next. Chris Gomes was 6th in the 125s and wearing the right number. van der Berg was in second in the 250s, about 7 minutes behind. With Bradley Engelbrecht leading the way in the 200cc's right on his tail. Craig McLary was fifth in the senior class, again in the colours of the Roost, but a long way back. And Reinders Basson was in fifth in the open class. In the 200s, Lawrence Erasmus was just 25 seconds behind Engelbrecht. It was a dice to the bitter end. In the quads, it was much of the same, but by now it was tough to tell who is who in the zoo. What we could tell was Willy van der Merwe was leading the open section by 6 minutes exactly. Kuri Swart was second in the Pro 450 section, also 6 minutes back. But there weren't a lot of large gaps in the field. One wrong slot or gear kissed and missed, and the man behind would be right past you. And even the quad racers were battling with the dust and the oppressive heat. You'd have to be truly extraordinary, talking extraordinary. Berthold and Costain were exactly that, as they charged to a 7.5-minute victory margin in Class A.
Yeah, pretty smooth drive, a rather fast track. We passed the motor right back as it pulled over with a slight problem. We seemed to catch him and pass him after he pulled over, and we had a smooth run for the rest of the afternoon.
Except maybe for a farmer that would be missing a considerable length of fence. It was smooth. Despite some stalled traffic, the National Mobile duo of Whitehouse and Thornton came screaming by to take third. With Kennelly and Howell right behind them in fourth. Van der Linde and his co-driver Maynard clinched the Class D title with 4.5 minutes to spare, with Musaji in second in Class A.
No problem. After we just changed the rim and it shaved a bit of the caliper away, so brakes were a little bit low, but other than that, no problem. It was a nice open section, yeah.
Okay.
It was a good run.
Did the dehydration get you today at all?
It was a bit hot. The car ran very hot, so that is another worry, to keep on looking at the engine temps and water temps to keep it, under control. But it was a hot day today. So we are a bit tired. Can get back home today.
You just got a second place right on the line here.
Yeah, no, not too bad, eh? Not too bad.
Ryobi's Henry and Maurice Matten took the runners-up spot in Class D and improved their diet.
I must have eaten more dust today than I did in a year of nationals. It was such a joke this morning. They said to us we're pulling off sort of like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're sitting there in shorts and a t-shirt, having some water, thinking this is going to be boring. And the next thing, the car starts pulling off. I think, hey, Nev, listen, what's happening here? Oh, I don't know. So let's amble over to the start. We're supposed to have started 7th. I think we started 20-something. So I said to him, but this is not cool. He says, yeah, but this was not in the regs, just right. So now we ate dust like no business. It was... But man, what a toy, eh? This Nissan is beautiful. Compared to that Pajero we were running, this is the machine.
But the winning machine overall was the Atlas Copco Porter of Berthold and Costain in 2 hours and 22 minutes. Nel and Lobaskachny had almost 8 minutes to spare over the Van Rensburgs in Class B. While the Barkers, Kevin and Leon had almost a half an hour's time to enjoy a cold beer to wash away all the dust before Vente and Pretorius made their appearance in second. And in Class D, Hendrik van der Linde and his nav Andries Maynard tasted victory with a lot of time to spare.
Ja, dat is baie lekker. Vir 'n slag kon ek ry sonder om moeilikheid te gehad het. Vandag was my beurt. Dit was lekker geweest.
Bietjie dors net.
Ja, bietjie dors.
Other class wins went to Bester and Crystal in Class E by almost 10 minutes, while Dewald Hutting and Duke de Pree took the win in Class F, where only 2 finishers made it to the line. To the men with the big right hands and the two-wheelers, the open category, Eugene Kutsia had only 1 minute and 35 seconds to celebrate his win in class, but it was enough to make it a really nice day out there.
It was a nice day, a bit dusty in the beginning. I think the second lap when we went out, especially with the cars in front, quite dusty, but I enjoyed it. Very nice.
Okay, was dehydration a bit of a factor out there for you today?
I think it was a bit hot today, enough fluids, so yeah, no, it was fine for me.
It was also fine for all the other motorbike category winners, with the 250cc winner Mark Garland clocking the fastest time. An exhausted Eugene Kutsia won the Quads Pro 450 title.
Dit was baie vanaand en ook die bietjie begin reën. Hier kom dit nou
So die stof het dalk bietjie gesak, maar voor die reën was stof was ongelooflik baie.
Ek sien jou gesig lyk.
Nee, ek het
And it had obviously got to him and the hat stand behind him. Still a fine win by Brett, and he also clocked the quickest overall time for the four-wheelers. The Rustenburg 200 was proudly brought to you by Lichtenburg and Rustenburg Toyota, Lichtenburg Wimpy, and the Van Vieren Group.